We got Kevin Smith here. Now, we know you've been a pot guy for...
What?
No.
What?
Ever.
I didn't know it showed. I was trying to keep it on the down low.
Well, are you high right now?
Well, high. Let's define our terms.
Yep.
I haven't been high in probably 10 years.
Okay.
I am always loaded with THC.
Okay.
So based on that, like there's no, like I'll go to sleep at about midnight.
But you don't feel
wake
high
up
right
at 6
now.
or 7, I never feel high.
Really?
But there's always THC.
So then why, if you don't get that feeling, then why?
It's why do people
smoke?
drink coffee? Why do people drink water?
But does it what? So you do feel it then?
But not when you say, "Are you high?" That's like such a high school thing.
Wait,
like
so
I haven't been high
so do you
for 10 years. I
stoned?
smoke again. I smoke so much, and this is not bragging, kids. This ain't like, oh, he's cool. Not at all. But there's always THC flowing in my system. If I go to bed at midnight and wake up at 6, it's only 6 hours down the minute I wake up and start smoking.
Okay,
so,
maybe we should ask it a different way. Do you feel it when you don't have it?
Well, maybe ask another question. When haven't I had it? It's been a long time, so I really don't recall. And yet I'm not like I do a bunch of stuff. I spin a lot of plates, so I'm not. I never feel baked, and part of it for me is like working through it. I enjoy smoking so that I could show off and be like, look at the 19 things I'm doing. I'm baked out of my mind because that's how I like perceived Seth Rogen on Zach and Mary Make a Porno. I was like, he's constantly baked, but not like baked, like sitting there watching TV, but he always smells like weed.
Yeah.
And not only is he making my movie and making it better by making 3 additional movies inside my movie that are much funnier than the one I wrote, he's working on 2 other projects with Evan in his trailer between takes and stuff like that. This was a dude who could multitask.
Yeah.
First stoner I ever met in my life where I was like, oh, that's not the stereotype. Like, this is not what I'm used to. Most of the stoners I knew, Jay was there for a second before he moved on to harder things. Brian Johnson took a whole year off in California smoking weed and watching South Park. And I was just like, well, there you go. That's the kind of thing. So I was never really a weed guy. I could count on maybe 2 hands the amount of times I'd smoke weed prior to my 38th birthday or something like that. Then I worked with Rogen. I was impressed by him. At the end of the show, my friend Malcolm was like, he wants to smoke with you. I said, what? And he goes, Seth wants to smoke with you because he's a cinematic stoner icon. And you're like, used to be a cinematic stoner icon. So the 2 of you need to smoke together. You got to do this for the movies, man. And I was like, I don't smoke weed, and I'm making a movie. I would never smoke weed while I'm making a movie. That's irresponsible. And he goes, well, he just wants to smoke with you. You can't let him down. So at the end of the movie, we were all finished, and there was one day where we were doing pickups with Seth. So we were 3 things left to do, and the movie was finished. So I sidled up to him, and I was like, hey, man, what do you say tonight? We go to the editing room, we watch some cut footage, and we smoke some of that weed I hear so much about. He goes, finally. And so I went and I smoked with him, and I absolutely loved who I was. Like, number 1, it was Pittsburgh, but he had LA weed, and it was incredible. So number 2, like any pretense or any of the stuff I carried about, like, you know, I'm the guy that made Clerks, or I'm Kevin Smith, all that stuff just faded away. Like I didn't care anymore. And suddenly I was like, oh, like this is neat. I really like who I am.
So
but I didn't start smoking weed on the regular at that point.
It's the result that some people get from therapy. You just happen to find it in weed.
Because I never had anything. I wasn't a drinker.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I would sit around sober, like when everyone would drink and stuff. Even in high school, like I liked sugar. That was my thing.
Yeah, me too.
And sugar only, it didn't make you, it made you happy, but it didn't get like make you loopy and stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So when I found weed, it wasn't that it made me loopy. It made me feel like, oh, I could be myself. Like weed doesn't make you a better person. Doesn't make you more creative. People are like, does it make you more creative? Absolutely not. If you're not creative, weed's not going to make you creative. However, if you're remotely creative, or if you just have good ideas that are always stymied and hampered by the second inner voice that's like, hey man,
Don't
why
do that.
you?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Weed is the great like
Is it kinda
breakdown.
like
You're
that
like,
stuff?
and suddenly you're like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Might
Is it
not
kind of
work.
like that stuff that you see on TV, the infomercial, where like maybe you have some like fog over your headlights on your car, or maybe like a little dull spot on the paint,
Yes.
and they take this crap orange something, whatever, and they rub it on there, and all of a sudden it's a brand new car.
Very shiny.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, you guys are probably not old enough to remember on TVs, there used to be a button for sharpness.
Yeah.
I remember
So,
that.
remember?
Yeah.
How old do you think we are?
The,
Or how young do you think
well, I
we
mean,
are?
I was born in 70. When were you born?
76.
All right, so you would remember sharpness.
Yeah, yeah.
Who was the youngest? Who's the one born?
The guy sitting right next to you.
What year?
90.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
I know.
Still, you predate Clerks, and that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I meet so many people who are like, I was born in '97, and I'm like, you were bodily fluid when we made Clerks, like lurking somewhere. So there used to be a button on TV, sharpness. Weed always feels to me like you've just turned the sharpness button, everything crisps up.
See,
so
I
it's
thought
easier
it
to
would be the
understand.
opposite. I
Me
thought it would
too.
kind of dull everything.
That's what it's supposed
Like
to.
being
And
a
that was
fog.
the stereotype that I had my whole life. But instead, for me, it went the other way. It also made me more verbose than I normally am. And I'm very verbose to begin with. Weed has a cocaine-like effect on me. And I've never had cocaine, but people describe me when I started smoking weed. My wife's like,
Isn't that
"Are you doing
sativa though?
coke?"
There's two different, like
Sativa and indica. And I'm a
and
very
indica.
sativa guy. But
Well, that would explain, 'cause
I'll
that's what
smoke
that's what
any,
gets you
like
hyped,
any
right?
Porter Storm. So I'll make an indica and make it work like a sativa. I refuse to let the weed take me down. So I'm always kind of up. But that's part of the fun. It's like, I'm going to work through this.